It's amazing, isn't it? Just when you think you've seen everything in cricket, something totally new comes along and like changes how you see the whole game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. You know what I mean? It's like you're always on the edge of your seat because there's always some incredible moment waiting to happen, some play that pushes the boundaries of what's possible.
And that's what we're diving into today, one of those game-changing developments. The switch hit.
Absolutely. If you've been watching any modern cricket, especially these high-energy T20 leagues, you just can't ignore the switch hit. It's
Y-
thrilling to watch, incredibly skillful, and it stirred up a lot of debate, too.
Yeah, it has.
So what we're going to do today is break it all down for you. We want to go deeper than just explaining what it is. We'll look at its history, the players who've mastered it, the tactics behind it, and how the cricketing world has reacted to it. It's like getting a backstage pass to understand the full story of the switch hit and how it's changed the game.
Sounds good. We've got some great research here to really dig into this. So for
Mhm.
anyone who's maybe hearing about the switch hit for the first time or just wants to get a clear picture, what exactly is it?
Okay, so in the simplest terms, a switch hit is when a batter changes their stance from right-handed to left-handed, or the other way around, right before the bowler releases the ball. Like they do it in a split second.
Wow.
Then they play the shot from that new stance. It's become super common in T20 cricket and in all these franchise leagues around the world, which just shows how much these formats are evolving and how much innovation there is.
So it's not just a small tweak.
Yeah.
They completely changed their orientation at the crease.
Yeah.
I mentioned it's a relatively recent thing.
Right.
When did the switch hit really start making waves in cricket?
Right. Well, innovative batters have probably been experimenting with stuff like this for a long time.
Yeah.
But it was in the early 2000s that the switch hit started to become more prominent. I think the moment it really grabbed everyone's attention was when Kevin Peterson deliberately used it against New Zealand back in 2008.
Yeah, I remember that innings. Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of debate about whether it was really, and the spirit of the game wasn't there.
Oh, there definitely was. At first, there was a ton of discussion and even some controversy. Some people questioned whether it gave the batter too much of an advantage, basically changing the rules at the last second. It challenged some of the traditional ideas about fairness between the batter and the bowler. But looking at where we are now, it's clear that the switch hit has gone from being this controversial new thing to a totally legitimate and even admired skill in the modern game. It's seen as this exciting tactic that brings more unpredictability to the game.
So much more unpredictable.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the players who haven't just adopted the switch hit, but have really become masters of it. Who are some of the big names that come to mind when we talk about this shot?
Well, Kevin Peterson was definitely one of the first to popularize it, but there are a lot of players who've taken it to a whole new level. Glenn Maxwell is a perfect example. He uses the switch hit with so much power and effectiveness, especially in T20 cricket. Remember some of his amazing innings in the IPL, even as recently as 2023? The switch hit was a big part of his boundary hitting strategy.
Maxwell, just unbelievable to watch when he's in form. And being able to switch his stance so effectively just adds another layer to his already unpredictable batting. Who else should we mention here?
David Warner is another one. He uses it really well, throws off the bowlers, and finds those gaps in the field.
Yeah.
And more recently, we've seen players like Rinku Singh for Team India, who's shown how powerful the switch hit can be for finishing innings strongly in key situations.
Oh, yeah, Rinku Singh, he's been fantastic to watch. And, another player who might not be as famous for the switch hit, but was so adaptable and innovative was A.B. de Villiers. He seemed like he could play any shot you could imagine. And the switch hit was just another one of his tools.
That's such a good point. De Villiers was so creative and he always pushed the boundaries. So shots like the switch hit just felt like a natural extension of his already incredible batting skills. It shows how even though the switch hit takes a lot of practice, it can also be a natural progression for players who are naturally innovative in their approach.
It seems like it's clear that it's not just a random decision to change hands.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of skill and strategic thinking behind pulling off a switch hit successfully.
Absolutely. It's important to understand that a successful switch hit isn't just luck. It takes a huge amount of technical skill, hours and hours of practice, and unbelievably fast decision-making under pressure.
So what are some of the key strategic things a batter is thinking about when they decide to go for a switch hit?
Well, there are a few things. Firstly, they have to be able to read the bowler's line and length almost instantly, even as they're changing their stance. Then a big part of it is trying to outsmart the field settings. By switching their stance, the batter can aim for areas of the ground that might be more open based on where the fielders are positioned for the original stance. And then there's the psychological game, too. They're trying to figure out the bowler's body language to predict what kind of delivery is coming, even as they're changing their own setup.
That sounds incredibly difficult. Processing all that information and then actually playing the shot well in such a short time. It's like they need to have the muscle memory and instincts of two different batters all in one.
Yeah, in a way, that's a really accurate description. And think about it from the bowler's perspective. You've got your plan, you've set your field, and then just as you're about to bowl, the batter totally flips their stance. It can really mess with your head and make you question everything. It's like what a commentator might say, the switch hit isn't just a shot, it's a mind game designed to throw the bowler off their rhythm and make them lose confidence. It adds a whole new level of surprise and forces the bowling team to constantly adapt their strategy.
That's a really interesting way to think about it. But this element of surprise and the potential to disrupt the bowler is also where a lot of the debate and controversy around the switch hit comes from, right? All those discussions about fairness.
Exactly. The argument against the switch hit often comes down to the idea that it gives the batter an unfair advantage. The main issue is that when a batter changes their stance so late in the delivery, the fielding team can't really adjust their field placements in time before the ball is bowled. Critics say that this throws off the balance between batting and bowling in a way that favors the batter.
So like the fielding team sets up a specific field for a right-handed batter, and then suddenly they're facing a left-hander hitting the same ball, but the field is all wrong. I can see how that would raise questions about fairness. So what's the official rule on this? What does the cricket authorities say about the switch hit?
Right now, the Marylebone Cricket Club, or MCC, which is basically the guardian of the rules of cricket, has decided that the switch hit is legal. The key thing is that the batter has to change their stance before the bowler starts their delivery stride. That's the point where they start running up to bowl with a clear intention of delivering the ball. As long as the stance change happens before that point, it's all good.
Got it. So the timing of the stance change is crucial. As long as it's before that point of no return for the bowler, it's within the rules. But you said earlier that some former players still think it goes against the spirit of cricket.
Yeah, there are still people, especially some of the older players and commentators, who are really attached to the traditions of the game, who feel like the switch hit isn't in the spirit of fair play that cricket is known for. They say that suddenly changing your stance upsets the balance of the game and gives the batter an advantage that wasn't part of the traditional understanding of cricket.
It's a fascinating clash between innovation and the long-standing traditions of the sport. So looking ahead, what do you think about the future of the switch hit? Is it just a fad, or is it here to stay and maybe even evolve even more?
I think the switch hit is definitely here to stay, and I think it'll become even more common in the future. We're already seeing a lot of young players being coached to use it really well from a very young age. A good example is someone like Rian Parag. He's shown how well he can incorporate the switch hit into his batting.
It's almost like it's becoming another essential shot in the modern batter's toolkit, right up there with the reverse sweep and the ramp shot.
Exactly. And it might not be limited to just the shorter formats for much longer. It's mostly seen in T20s and franchise leagues now. But I wouldn't be surprised if it started to appear more in Test cricket as players get better at it and more confident using it over longer periods at the crease.
That would be interesting to see. It would definitely make test matches even more exciting. You talked about technology a bit earlier in relation to the switch hit. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. It's amazing how technology is being used to improve batting techniques these days, including the switch hit. We're seeing more and more AI-powered analytics that help batters get the most out of their switch hits. They analyze things like the exact timing of the stance, change the best angle for the bat swing in the new stance, and even try to predict how the bowler might react to a switch hit attempt. All this data-driven stuff really shows how seriously people are taking the switch hit as a skill that can be honed and perfected. So it's not just a daring shot anymore, it's becoming part of the fabric of cricket.
It really makes you think about how much the game keeps changing and adapting. So next time we're watching a match and we see someone pull off a switch hit, what should we as viewers be appreciating in that moment?
I think when you see a switch hit, you should really appreciate the skill, the split-second decision-making, and the sheer guts it takes for a batter to try that shot, especially when there's a lot of pressure. It shows how dedicated they are to innovation and how willing they are to take risks to get an edge.
It definitely brings a whole new level of excitement and unpredictability to the game.
Mhm.
And on that note, here's something to think about. With shots like the switch hit becoming more common and more effective, how might that change not just batting techniques, but also the strategies used by bowlers and captains in the future? It really makes you wonder what's next for cricket.
It really does. The switch hit is a perfect example of how innovation keeps pushing the boundaries of cricket. We encourage you to keep watching how it evolves and think about the bigger picture of how both batting and bowling strategies will keep developing in the years to come.
That sounds like a great place to wrap things up. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the switch hit. It's been